everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video and I want to make it about LSM trees because LSM trees is something that I've been working on closely for the past 1 year. And I also believe that it is something that you all must have heard when it comes to right regress databases or databases in general. So in this video, I'll tell you about everything that you need about log structured merge trees, their dynamics, how the read writes happen, and what does it do to scale the distributed databases in general. So let's get started. So what are LSM trees and why should I even bother to know about them? B plus trees and LSM trees are two data structures that we usually hear when we are talking about a database. B plus trees are used when we want less search and insertion times, but LSM trees on the other hand are used when we have a write intensive data set and our reads are not that high. It's a data structure with performance characteristics that make it very attractive to store data with high insert and update rates. It Coming to the structure, it comprises of two levels. The first level is mem table and it is resident in our main memory. The second level is SS tables, which are stored in disk. This can be SSD, HDD, or anything. So why should we learn about LSM trees? LSM trees is the heart of most storage systems that we know today, which are write intensive. It also powers most of the famous databases like Cassandra, RocksDB, etc. And these are used in some of the most popular applications like Facebook, Twitter, etc. So it is good to know about them. And LSM trees primarily use three concepts to optimize reads and writes. So let's see what those three concepts are. Coming to the first concept used in LSM trees, sorted string tables. Now, I want you to think about the simplest and the fastest way to write to a database over the top of your head, whatever comes. Yes, that's correct. We just append to a log. But what is the complexity of reads in this case? O of n, which is again too complex if you take into account the gigabytes or petabytes of data that is present in our current databases. So how can we reduce the complexity of reads further? Think about it in this way. What if the log is sorted? What is the complexity in this case? O of log n, which is very less than O of n. So this is the basic idea behind the sorted string tables, or as we call it, SS tables. And this is one of the primary ideas that we use in LSM trees. This is the normal log that we have. You can see that the entries are not in an orderly fashion. Whereas in an SS table, the entries are sorted by their primary key, and now it is obviously much easier to read an entry from this log. Now coming to the second concept used in mem table, say we have two situations. Both have databases, but in the first situation, the writes are directly coming to the database. Whereas in the second situation, we have an in-memory kind of structure, and the writes come to this in-memory structure and they're condensed into one and then written into the database. So now let's analyze the pros and cons of both these approaches. Network bandwidth. So network bandwidth is definitely one of the plus point in the second approach because the number of network calls that we are making here to the database are way less. Coming to time and resources, the second one again wins in here because the number of IO calls that we are making is again way less, and the IO reply that we'll get from the databases is also way less. In here, we'll have to make n IO calls. In here, we are making just one IO call. But coming to the additional memory required, here we'll not be requiring any additional memory, but here we are using some additional memory. But this is something that we are okay if we want network bandwidth to be utilized better. and also the time and resources to be utilized better. This additional memory structure is nothing but the mem table, which is the first level of our LSM trees. So to tell what a mem table is, it is an in-memory structure. It stores data in a sorted fashion, just like SS tables. It acts as a write-back cache. I'll explain in detail what this means in the next slides. And after reaching a certain size, it is flushed as an SS table to database, where it's persisted. So now that we know what a mem table is and what SS tables are, let's go on and see how reads and writes are done in an LSM-based database. So we have a server which will be doing all the I/O operations of reads and writes to the database. And this is a database which is LSM based. It can be Cassandra, MongoDB, RocksDB, and so on. And we have our mem table here, which resides in the main memory. And we have a disk here, which can be SSD or HDD. So this is a fresh system with no data in it. Now say a write came for Volta and its value is 52. So Volta is the primary key and its value is 52. So inside the database, this write is first sent into mem table and it's written to mem table. Only after the mem table reaches a certain limit, it is flushed as a SS table into the disk. Say the limit of our mem table is 3 entries. So since it's only one entry, it's present now in mem table. Now say a write again came for another key, Bob, and its value is 24. It's sent to the mem table again, and it's stored in mem table. Now if you'll observe, it is stored in a sorted fashion in the mem table itself, so that when we'll flush the mem table, it is flushed as sorted string tables, which are SS tables, to the disk. Now say another write came, and this time it's for Alice and its value is 92. It's again written into the mem table. Now since the mem table's threshold of 3 entries is reached, it is flushed as an SS table into our disk. Now say another write came for Phoebe and its value is 92. It is written into our mem table again. Now our mem table has one entry and our disk has one SS table containing 3 entries. Now say a write came for Schofield and it's again written into our mem table. And now again we have a write for Walter and it's again written into our mem table. So if you observe, we already got another write for Walter earlier and its value was 52, but now it's getting updated to 76. So even though it's getting updated with a newer value, will not replace the earlier written SS table with this new value, but instead will append this value again to the mem table and will be flushed as another SS table. So this is what we mean by saying that an SS table is immutable. So once you write some value to an SS table, it cannot be changed and it's persisted forever. So since the mem table reached its threshold limit, it's again getting flushed and a new SS table is created. So the value Volta is present in 2 of the SS tables, but 76 is the latest value, and we'll store a timestamp corresponding to this value in each SS table to know which is the latest value. And this will be used when we are trying to read the data. Now say we got another write for another key, Sherlock, and its value is 98. It is written into the mem table, as we know. But now we come to the interesting part, that is the read. Say we got a read for the key Walter. We first check if that value is present in the mem table or not. And you can see that that value is not present in the mem table. Then we go ahead and check if it is present in one of the SS tables in our disk. It is present in the first and second SS table. So we read both the rows and we get the latest value of Walter from the SS tables, which is obviously 76. And we send that value back to our server. So this is a basic workflow of reads. That is, we'll first check if the value is present in the mem table. If it's not present, if it's present, then we'll send that value back to the server. But if it's not present, we'll go on and check one of the disks and we'll see if it's present in one of the SS tables. So this is the workflow that we follow for reads. That is, whenever we get a read, we'll try to read it from the mem table. If it's present, we send it back to the server. If it's not present, we'll go ahead and check all the SS tables that are present in the disk for the key, and we'll read the value from the SS table and send it back to the server. Now coming to the third concept that is used in LSM trees, compaction. So the worst case read time from the disk is n log n, where n is the number of SS tables, because we'll have to search each SS table for a key and we'll return it whenever we find that key. But as the number of SS tables increase and more writes are coming into our database, the worst case read time also increases. And also, as we keep flushing the SS tables to the disk, the number of redundant or extra keys will also keep increasing. As in our previous example, the key Walter was present in two SS tables. So the job of a compactor, which is basically a thread, is to run in background and merge all these SS tables by removing the extra or deleted keys from the SS tables and making them into one single merged SS table. So if you take a look at these two SS tables, you can see that there are many values that are redundant and which have been updated to a new value. If you want to search from these two SS tables, the read time will be log 5 plus log 5, which is equal to 6. But if you compact them into a single SS table by removing the redundant values, the read time decreases to log of 6, which is 3. So 6 operations versus 3 operations, which is a huge performance if you think in terms of when the data is in petabytes or terabytes. So the obvious advantages are it takes up less space and also the performance increases. So if you will take our previous example, you can see that the Walter key was getting repeated in two of these tables. The compactor thread will run and it will uh, compact these two SS tables into a single big SS table by removing the redundant key Walter in one of the SS table and updating it to a newer value. This compacted thread usually runs once in every 30 minutes and it compacts all the SS tables present into a single big SS table. Coming to the next topic, need of Bloom filters. So what are Bloom filters and why are they needed? Consider the situation in which we have a disk and the number of SS tables increased. So we have 6 SS tables on this disk, each consisting of three entries. And say now the compaction has not kicked in yet and it will take another 30 minutes for compaction to come in. So the read latency or worst case read latency per key also increases, because since we say we have to search for Stark, then we'll search this, you'll search this, you'll search this, you'll search this, you'll search this, and then finally you'll search this, and this is too much of read latency for a high performing database that we need. So what can we do is that we can fit each SS table with a Bloom filter, and this Bloom filter will probabilistically tell you if that key is present in that SS table or not. So what do we mean by probabilistically telling? So there's a Bloom filter function and we gave a key as input to that function. If the value returned is 0, then we'll definitely know that the key is not present in that SS table. But if it gives the value as 1, then that key may or may not be present in that SS table. For example, for the Bloom filter in this, if we give the input as say Stark, that key is not present in this SS table, but it can give you either 0 or 1. If it gives you the value as 0, then that key is definitely not present in this SS table. But if it gives the value as 1, you will have to go through that SS table and check if that key is present or not. In most cases, the Bloom filter generally tells you accurately if the value is present or not in that SS table, as it has 99.9% accuracy. But in some cases, it may give you some false positives, in which case you will have to go through that SS table and check if that key is present or not. So Bloom filter is a probabilistic data structure. It checks if that key is present in the SS table or not with O of 1 complexity. It improves the read performance for the keys to some extent. And the only disadvantage is that sometimes this false positive match is also possible. Let's go over the high level picture of various components of a typical LSM based system. For a write request, first it's persisted onto the disk into the wall. The main purpose of the wall is to help us in case of some failures. So whenever a failure happens, we have to roll back into the state that we were previously in. The wall is stores all the updates that have come so that we'll be able to roll back into our previous state. And then it's written into our in our mem table, which is then if the mem table reaches a certain size, is then flushed as an SS table onto the disk. If an SS table is created, its corresponding Bloom filter is also created. Now say we got a read request for a key. It is first checked if the key is present in a mem table. If it's present, we return the value back. If it's not present, and then we'll go over each SS table and we'll check if the key is present. To check if the key is present in an SS table, we'll check its Bloom filter. The Bloom filter will tell us probabilistically if the key is present or not. Say the Bloom filter says that the key is present in an SS table. We go over the SS table using the index that we have and we'll check if the key is present. If it's not present, we'll move on to the next SS table and the process continues. But if the key is present in the SS table, we'll send it back to the user. Also, there's a compactor thread that runs in background every 30 minutes and it keeps compacting all the SS tables that are present in our disk, and it also modifies the index that are present for these SS tables. So this is the overall picture of how an LSM based database works, and it kind of summarizes all the things that we have learned in our previous slides. Now coming to the advantages of LSM trees, it has high write throughput. So it's very useful when we have a high write intensive workload, and it's also attractive to store data with high update rates, and also it has minimized storage overhead. Now coming to the disadvantages, we'll have slower reads because any read which comes through has to first go to mem table and then goes to the Bloom filters and then the SS tables and stuff. And then we have also another advantage that a disadvantage that the compaction process which runs sometimes can also interfere with the performance of the reads and writes that are ongoing at that time. So that concludes our video. I hope you all must have learned something about the LSM trees and how it works. Please like, share and subscribe for more such content. Thank you.